Instigator Hour. And welcome to the Instigator Hour on this beautiful Friday evening. I am thrilled to share with you our guest tonight, Mr. Will Anspach, also known, and this is probably what you're more comfortable and familiar with, Greazy Will.
Greazy
Will Anspach.
Greazy Will's about that. Greazy Will's a new, well, it's not new, but it's like I thoroughly embraced it recently. It's kind of like it's funny, it's like a branding thing, you know? It's
sure.
It's like one of the things that I found very tough about being a very average-looking white dude in the music industry.
Speaking my language.
Is, you know, it's like we all kind of look the same. You know, it's like we all wear all black. We all got a couple tattoos somewhere. You know, it's like we're all generally balding and losing and trying to like disguise who we are and everything. So one of the things that I found is like at some point in time, you got to start finding a way to separate yourself from the crowd.
Yeah.
And you know, people kept telling me too, like all the time I'd work with people and they're like, oh, you're not like any engineer I've ever worked with before. And it's like, well, because like most of the dudes you work with are like, you know, it's like engineering for them is, and this is very common, I think. Engineering for them is like, it's like, it's the same type of job as an accountant for them. You know, it's like, yes, they may in fact be doing music, but they might as well be doing data entry. You know, it's
they're just the white lab coats, old school George Martin engineer in the back, touching buttons thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm definitely not that dude. Like, I'm the dude that's like, hey, you know, it'd be cool. It's like, let's like, you know, let's like, why don't you just go into the echo chamber and record the whole thing from in there? Why don't we, you know, it's like, I like to be involved. I like to inspire artists. It's the reason also, it's the reason why so many artists that I work with tend to be pretty far left on the political spectrum and like, and very vocally open with their political stances and stuff like that. I like to work with people who say and do something important.
Right.
And I like to also impart my own like worldviews into them whenever I'm working. You know, it's like, it's hard to get someone like Killer Mike to look at you and be like, dang, like that dude's legit, you know? But then whenever it's like, dang, like you're a really good engineer and you're a war veteran, a Purple Heart recipient, you know?
Oh, so like that's news to me. What's up with that? Please elaborate.
Oh, yeah. So I only started doing music when I was, I owned a guitar since I was about 11 years old.
Sure.
But I only started doing music professionally when I was like 26 years old because when I was 18, some Saudis flew a plane into some buildings in New York. Right. And there was this very nationalistic fervor that swept over the country.
So you jumped into that, huh?
I joined the Marines and I went off to I was in the Marines like let's see, about five and a half months when they were like, hey, get your shit and come back, we're leaving. And
mind blown. I had no idea about that in your backstory. That makes sense to me, kind of, just because you're so no bullshit. In fact, when I went to audio school, I went to audio school in New York City at the Institute of Audio Research, which is not there anymore, to let you know how well that did. It was one of the first, though. It was one of the first audio schools that came out in like 1969. And it had a cool like New York City back history, and a lot of players and engineers went through there. But what I found interesting is like I was an old dude that went through that program. I was like 26, 27, probably around the same age. But the dudes I was in class with that weren't like 18-year-old fresh out of high school were GI Bill dudes who are like, yo, I got all my military money and I'm going to put it towards making beats and like be a producer. So it's fascinating to me that you're actually of that cloth and you're like in it now. Like, it's unbelievable to me. And just for the record here, because we didn't really give you a proper introduction, but this dude is an engineer who I found on TikTok sharing these studio secrets, which were wonderful. And it was also one of the first long form videos, which, to say long form, which is 3 minutes and was 3 minutes on TikTok, you were the first person that I saw that like actually sat down and like just kind of told a story. And I was so into it. I got so sucked into it. But yeah, so kudos to you just for finding this lane.
Yeah, a lot of this just comes down to, with the TikTok stuff, It's funny. I didn't start TikTok to do TikTok. I started TikTok because my daughter is about to be 13, and she's a dancer, and she's very cool, and she loves her TikTok and everything. But her account is private because she's, you know, a minor and everything, and I don't want people like finding her. But I also wanted to watch her TikToks and see what she was up to, and like, you know, and see what her, you know, what fun stuff she was doing. Yeah. And so I made a TikTok account, and because I didn't want to be like all the TikTok accounts that just got, you know, like 10 followers and no videos.
So you started caring about it. You're like, I kind of have to care about this a little.
Yeah, I mean, I just, you know, I think it's like, why kind of do something? Like, do it for real or don't do it. So, it all started for me whenever, I mean, I posted like one or two things, but it really kicked off for me, like maybe my second or third post where I was out at Shangri-La, and it was really funny too, because I was at Shangri-La and I was thoroughly dismayed with the sound of Shangri-La. Like, I was like, I can't believe this studio.
Is that the one with the like super cheap monitors after everything it was going through, or what?
No. That was a different place. This was way before that. It's a beautiful studio. It's called the Chapel, and it's on like the Shangri-La property and everything. But it was like, like the roof in the building is like 17 feet tall, and it's like, and it's like garage. It's got glass garage doors on the front. It's like it was literally just like I couldn't hear anything, you know. And I was working with Zach De La Rocha over there, and I was like, oh man, like this is so cool that I'm here doing this with this dude, but I'm actually really disappointed with how awful it sounds. Yeah. But I was still just like, well, I'll just do a TikTok about, you know, the property and some shit. So I went around, I did like a little thing. And I think that it got like, you know, it's like 60,000 views or something in the first like day. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, do people care about this stuff? Like, because I'm also, I'm very much of the thought process that most people don't even know what engineers do. Like if they know anything about it, they know Dave Pensado or Manny Marroquin, and they're like, oh, mixers are engineers, you know, but that is such a small part of what exists. And like, so I did this video and I kind of put it out there, and I was like, oh, wow, that's cool. Like, people care about it. And I started getting some like crazy followers. And then I noticed as I spent more time on it, that it was so much like everybody that was doing TikTok, like as an engineer, was like, let me give you 3 tips for Logic for reverbs, you know, and it's like, who cares about that? Like, that's what, like, it's like, some of it's cool. I mean, and some of those guys, I love those things, you know. It's like, I even learn stuff sometimes from.
For sure. It's, you know, listen, it's hard to call out the kind of cheesiness of the tropes and trends on TikTok without sounding like those bitter dudes that hate TikTok. Right.
And I'm not that at all. Like,
I know.
I think it's very cool that these things exist, but it's like, it's also like, man, that's what everybody's doing. And I also noticed it's like, not to like disparage any of these people, but it's like, they're not like doing some like cool shit. They're like working in like Des Moines, Iowa, and like doing like local bands or like church choirs,
and again,
or something.
To each their own, and like that's valuable and that can help someone.
100%.
But like to that point, like the reason that your Shangri-La Zach De La Rocha clip probably like blew up, I mean, was probably name recognition too, with like, I don't know if you tagged him in it or what, but
I normally don't talk about him because
which by the way, I can't imagine Zach De La Rocha on TikTok. Like, that's not a thing.
He doesn't use any social media at all.
Of course. I'm curious. So listen, I grew up as a massive Rage Against the Machine fan. Like, that was my first guitar guru. I cut fucking single coil pickup out of my Strat so I could have a kill switch. The whole bit. And also that really, truly informed like my politics. Like, I was in like middle school refusing to wear any labels, and just really interesting how they have ridden this wave, and then, you know, with their absence, then Run the Jewels pops out, kind of filling that void of Rage. And now, and let me state this too, I had tickets to see Rage and Beastie Boys back in like whatever year that was, 24 years ago or whatever, and they canceled because Mike D broke his arm mountain biking or some shit. Like, you can rap with one arm, dude. And so I didn't get to see them then. Okay, so I'm in high school. Didn't get to see my chance. Then cut to now, a few years ago, Prophets of Rage are touring. I get to see them. I'm like, fuck yeah, Prophets of Rage. At least I get that. But I'm like, it's just not the same. So now here they are, Run the Jewels, Rage Against the Machine on fucking tour. And what happens? The pandemic.
Right.
And their tour, it's just unbelievable to me. So anyway, I am not currently going to shows. I have not been to any public event or restaurant since the pandemic started, because our kid is in that small age group that is unvaccinated. We're like, it's not worth taking the risk. We'll just wait till he can get vaccinated. So we are the last people out of the cave, so to speak. But my first show back, July 25th, Buffalo, KeyBank Center, Run the Jewels, Rage Against the Machine, and I'm going to be the only fucking dude bawling his eyes out the whole concert. So there it is.
It's funny you say that. I talk to Zach about that all the time, because he's such a humble human being that he really does find it hard to believe that people whole people's opinions have been shaped by that. I talk to him all the time, because one of the reasons that we get along so well and that we work together so well is that there's a respect, between us for, he understands that my choice in going into the military was not so much a choice of I want to go fight war. It was I'm a poor kid from a shitty neighborhood with not a lot going on for
deeply
me, and
patriotic, which is
and believed in my country and believed in and it's unfortunate, because also all those things are why I get along with him so well, is because that shit, when it comes out that all the stuff that was the Iraq War was about is lies, and we kind of did some real janky stuff, and basically, I mean, we're in that situation no better than what Russia is trying to pull in Ukraine, and so it's to have that kind of stuff and to have these discussions with him, and to for us to have common ground and the understanding of that, we really, in fact, the first time I worked with him, I didn't know I was going to be working with him. I went over to his place, and I kind of thought, I was with Juan Reddy, who's a bass player from the Mars Volta, and he kept saying Zach, but I thought he was talking about this guitarist we knew, and I was like, yeah, stoked. And so I get there, and Zach De La Rocha opens the door, and I'm like, oh shit! And that first day, I thought we were going to record. We didn't record a thing. We sat there for 4 hours and talked, and talked about classic hip hop, and talked about,
That's
about
real. Figure out your common repertoire, your glossary, your index of terminology and references,
It's very funny how people think that technical ability is what matters in engineering.
Not at all.
When in actuality, for most of my clients, I'm damn near a therapist who can record. We talk a lot about stuff. We talk about the world, and this is all the people that I work with. You will not leave a session with me at the end of the session and not have some sort of bond with me as a human being, because it's we're on a 12-hour session. What are we going to do? Just hit record the entire time? No. Let's get comfortable. One of my recent clients, when we worked together, right off the bat, he was like, man, I'm writing songs about my dad dying. So I need to be comfortable with you in, with me in the room and stuff like that. And it's man, I know tragedy. I understand tragedy. I'm going to get along with you really well, because trust me, I've lost a lot of people in my life, and I've been there. So it's I feel what you're on. Know that your shit is safe with me, that your emotions are safe with me. You're going to cry in the booth, man. That's cool.
That's real.
I with you. If you're going to,
man,
you're going to get depressed and then have to do some heroin to perk up. I'm with you, bro.
I will be an enabler.
Absolutely enable you.
Yeah. To that point, though, I think it's fascinating because, as I went through audio engineering school, which is funny because went through audio engineering school, that was 2012, 2013, and it was briefly after that then every YouTube video came out of this is how you do this. I'm like, God damn it, there's $17K that I didn't need to spend. I could have gotten fucking gear. But whatever, I still look to that experience with fondness, and it was a small college experience. I bring this all up because the notion that I got, the old school engineering mentality was you don't say a fucking word to the artist. There is a producer, that is their job. And what's funny is that fuzzy line between producer and engineer, and I don't know, I've in my
what? to that point, like the producers don't exist anymore. It's like
they are the artist or whatever. Yeah,
the beat maker, and the beat maker might just be sending his shit in from far, and it's like it might just be a lot of times it's just me and an artist in a room. Like the traditional sense of a producer doesn't exist anymore really as much. So it's like, you gotta like. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Was my phone? Okay, my charger just came out for a second. So you gotta balance these things and like know your role for sure. Yeah. You know, it's like I'm on a big session and there is like, you know, it's like I did sessions with Phil Ramone before he died, and it's like, yeah, man, like shut up, let Phil Ramone be the guy. Like just shut the fuck up. You were gonna learn
don't
more.
Need your suggestion.
Yeah. Nobody needs any suggestions from you at any time. There is like 400 years of recording experience in this room right now. Just
well, it's even funny. That makes me think of that like the B-roll footage from Nothing Left to Lose Foo Fighters record where it's Dave Grohl drunk on the couch being like, "Don't tell me how to make a record. I was in Nirvana," and it's like, we get it.
Yeah,
we'll shut up.
100%. You know, there's something funny that happens with Zach a lot of times when I'm working with him, where he'll be like, man, what do you think? Is this a good verse? Like, do you think I'm like, does it sound like really? And I'm like, bro, everything you do is amazing. Like, joking.
I mean,
like when you made Battle of Los Angeles, bro, everything you say and do is amazing.
Yeah, it's
you could literally a track and be like, and I'd be like,
just 40 Fs, just yeah, no, it's crazy because I it's weird. I think if you look at like rock star status, like that's a lot to handle and deal with and process as a human being. But if you're as important and like critical as someone as a voice, like that band, you have a political science major from Harvard who's also a innovative, unbelievable guitar player, combined with one of the best rhythm sections. Then with Zach leading this force, again, it's such a huge part of my musical foundation. But then also like the rap rock thing that was happening at that time, like it was just such an explosive combination, you know?
Yeah. Sometimes joke that Rage Against the Machine is the reason we have Limp Bizkit. So it's like
it is a trade-off. It is a trade-off.
It's a trade-off, you know. But also, you know what, man? I honestly, I've been seeing there's a very funny thing about Limp Bizkit to me, and just
like them, they're almost cool now.
I know they
uncool. They're
back
cool.
around.
Yeah,
what would happen is we got burned out on them, and we were like, yeah, we're sick of hearing all these things. But actually, like Fred Durst recently, I've been seeing him do some stuff, and I've been like, keep rolling, bro. Yeah, come on. You know,
I can't hate on it.
You know
I
what?
can't hate on it. Yeah,
it had something. You know,
it's weird and it's funny. I do think. Because in your teen, like of that era, right? Like early 2000s, we're teens or whatever, and like music defines you as a person. You're like, yeah, fuck those people that don't like what I like, and vice versa. And I think as you get older, you just naturally mellow out, and you're like, no, it's cool. I don't judge you. Or if like you're self-aware enough to be like, I have no guilty pleasures. I just have pleasures, you know?
You know, I think there's something, you know, streaming really changed a lot of like musical viewpoints as well, because it's like, you know, there was this program I saw like maybe a decade ago or so where it was like talking about like 90s and 2000s rock, and in the program they put this like the list of bands that they put in the same like genre. They're okay, Alice in Chains and Nirvana, you know, is like this is like where it started, Soundgarden, and then they start going, and then Stone Temple Pilots, and I'm like, I'm with you, and then they're like and Nickelback and Creed and
it's
Limp
not
Bizkit.
wrong, but then it just gets cringy, and you're like, oh, I don't want to hear.
Yeah, and you're like, wait, hold on, wait, no, come on, nah, man, but like, yeah, all right, I see what you're saying.
Okay,
you know,
that's hysterical, and you're totally right, and it starts going down like a weird road when you start looking at the evolution of it. You're like, oh shit, I guess yes, that's responsible for that. That's the fun part about music, is that you can go infinitely backwards, right? But just side note about Creed, because I was an impressionable 14-year-old dude with black pleather pants and desperately wanted to be Mark Tremonti at that point. And but what was funny was that they actually got to meet them. They came through town. They were playing our local Six Flags, whatever. And I was working at a fucking country club, and them and their tour manager played our course while they were in town, and they gave us all passes to go to the show and stuff. So I got to meet him, but it was like Scott Stapp was angry and on his bus. The rest of the band was doing meet and greets, and I was so excited, 14-year-old dude with his like, oh, could you sign my Guitar Player magazine? You're Guitar Player of the Year. And Mark Trapani was like, yeah. I'm like, oh, so crushed by this experience. But then Judd, their tour manager, showed us their tour bus. The first time I ever saw a tour bus on the inside, and they had gotten chicken wings because we're in Buffalo, you know, and it's smelled like wings. I don't know, it was just like a formative experience, but it was fucking Creed, you know, like, God damn it, couldn't have been a cool band.
Why couldn't you have been somebody better?
But no, it is.
No,
fun, yeah.
Like, you know, it's funny. I think everybody's guilty of like, and that was my point to the streaming thing is like, especially now, it's like because of that, everything gets lumped together in that little genre. It's like you start listening to a playlist and you're bound to run to, you know, look at this photograph.
Well, you had the Nickelback story though. You're the one that's basically saying they're not pricks. I don't know why everyone hates them.
They're not at all. They're wonderful dudes, and like me not particularly liking their music.
That's fine.
It's actually affected me because I'm like, man, but they're just such nice fucking guys. So great, such great dudes. I you know, I can't fault them for it or anything. Like because you know, and they you know, I remember too. It's like. I don't remember. It's like the two brothers are like the guitarist and bass player or something. Like. And I was talking to the guitarist, and he was just like, you know, he's like, well, just, I mean, every like metal band that I loved, you know, at that time, and at that time I was a very big metalhead for sure. Like I listened to a ton of metal at that time, and every single band I named, he'd be like, oh, right, yeah. And then like, what the other band, I'd be like, oh, right, yeah. And like, we had a whole, I mean, we must have talked about Dimebag Darrell for like 6 hours one day, you know, just like the whole day.
You really bonded.
and like, it was like, well, how did you get from here to here? And he was like, man, chicks don't come to metal shows. And I was like, yep.
Queens of the Stone Age, man. Like that's the that's the top tier of like, we named our band Queens instead of Kings or something. Like we want to appeal to like everyone. Right. I don't know. I was just thinking. I had Queens is another one of like these like tent pole bands in my life, and with now them playing with Theodore and the Mars Volta or whatever, you know, it's like, right? Is that connection?
Yeah. Well, so I mean, they have a revolving door of like, but all those guys are like all friends and like homies.
Yeah. And then you have like the Dead Weather and Dean Fertitta, the Detroit dudes. Yeah.
Right, they trade in and out of all these players and shit. It's like there's like always a revolving cast, and it's the same with like Cedric. I think he's got like 5 side projects from like besides the Mars Volta and At the Drive-In. Right. He's got like 5 other side projects with like various different of all these different.
Because life is short.
Yeah. So. So it's hard. Sometimes it's hard. Funny story about Queens of the Stone Age.
What do you got?
I was recording. Vic Mensa's first record, first full-length album, while Josh Homme was working at the same studio in another room.
All right.
And so we're working on this. We're working on this thing, and Vic has this tendency whenever he's like trying to write, he would he just blast the speakers, you know, and it's like and listen to like, you know, 8 bars of a verse for like 3 hours. You know, it's like. Be like sitting there and be like going back. He writes everything in his head most of the time. He doesn't write a lot of stuff down, so it's like, you know, he works it all out and he like goes through. And so we're doing this for like a couple hours, and all of a sudden the assistant comes in. He's like, "Hey man, Josh is like freaking out. Like, can we turn down a little bit?" And there's like, you know, there's a part of me that's like, hey man, I understand you're trying to get some work done over there. And apparently what they were doing is they were trying to print the reverb chambers, and the low end from our subs was just like reverb chambers because it was unavoidable. Right. You know, it was like so loud that we were doing it. And I kind of get that. I'm like, yeah, man, I get that. I was trying to like print some reverb chambers, and I was like, and some rapper next door was doing it. I get pissed off too. You know, I totally get it. But also like, fuck that, man. We're paying $2,000 a day to be in this studio.
Also true. Yeah.
Up, you know, like we're paying to be here too. figure your shit out, bro. This ain't my problem. This is a studio problem, you know? And it's like, I'm not going to tell my artist turn down the music because of somebody else, because they have if that's how they listen to music, if that's their writing process, and everything, they've got every right to do that.
Absolutely. That is immovable force and hard object or whatever, right? Like...
So anyway, we didn't turn down.
Oh boy.
And at the exact same time that we were working, because this was in a studio in Hollywood, at the same time we were working on this, another rapper and his team were in the same space, you know, back and forth. So it was like we'd work for a few hours a day, like maybe earlier, and then they'd work later. Sure. Sometimes they'd day off. We'd work that day. It was like, so we just kept kind of like cycling out. Well, I guess that after we had left and they showed up, they were also banging.
Oh boy! So they got the rap. Yeah.
And so they came back and tried to like flip out on them, and they were like, "What the fuck? We just got here, bitch."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
so it's like one of those totally understandable situations. Yeah. Like you just caught the shit end of the stick twice.
Yeah.
And like. and like he kind of screwed you, but also at the same time, like, you know, both us and the other artists had every right to be turning the fucking
that's gnarly. That's weird. That's crazy. I mean, it's crazy that you're testing the limits of the sound barriers and the establishment. Yes,
testing the limits of Josh Homme not shooting me in the
I don't think that threshold's very high.
Yeah, I think the threshold's pretty low on that one.
Amazing. Again, man, I mean, we could go through your discography, but as of recent, your homie Jonah Lennox just dropped "Fuck This Town" today.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, Johan just dropped that.
Oh, it's shit. Johan. My bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. That's a common one.
He and yeah, my bad. But I stumbled upon him same time as you on TikTok. I had no idea you two worlds were joined. You know.
Yeah, man, Johan is a really great friend of mine. Like, in fact, like...
Well, he does strings and stuff and arrangements, right?
Yeah, so he's got a crazy story, man. So what happened was he grew up in, like, the classical music world. He didn't listen to...
That's right. He does a series where he's like, tell me this pop song and I'll see if I can guess it because he doesn't know. Yeah, that's right.
He has no idea. Like, he did not hear any, like, real pop music until he was in college. And when he was in college, like, you got to understand, like, I didn't even get this about him for a little while, like, until I started. We've been doing some touring recently together, just like I know how to do playback for like artists, and like I'm very versatile because I also understand engineering, and I also can understand music. So there's a lot of things I can do with people on tour and help them with. So I'm a very valuable thing. But Johan's just my friend, so I do it because I like him and shit. But we've been going around and meeting all these like, you know, like violin players, because our live show that we do it's usually 4 string players, like 2 violin players, a viola and a cello on stage with his, you know, normal thing, and he plays keys and like kind of like DJ playback stuff. That's and like great. Like it's very dystopian. Like all the violin players wear like masks, like duck masks and shit. It looks very. If you get a chance to see Johan,
Sleep No More masks. Yeah,
dude, it's like really cool. It looks so rad, and so we've been touring, and I've been meeting all these like string players, and they all talk to him. Like it's not abnormal for me to see like rappers and musicians to look at Johan and think like, wow, you're an amazing composer, like, and you're an amazing producer and shit like that, because the music world is not as musical, like knowledgeable as you think they would be.
Right.
You know,
they should be. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, in actuality, a large portion of the time I'm on sessions, I'm the only person in the room that knows how to find the key of a song. Like, I'm the only person that plays any instruments, like, because, and there's, again, nothing wrong with that.
Not at all.
It's actually amazing that people are capable of making, like, really good music without knowing anything about
it. Well, in fact, I could make an argument for not knowing rules and temperaments to be freeing for your creative output, for sure.
Absolutely. And I lived in that world for a very long time and was very proud that I was capable of hanging with people who did know things. Right. But anyway, I'm meeting all these string players, and that's where you're like, well, if you're like a professional violinist, you've been playing since you were like 3, you know, and like you're very good at music, you know, like you are definitely, and all of them hold him in such high reverence. And then I start talking to him. He used to actually travel the world as an a cappella group. Like, he was such a good singer and he's like so good at music. And like, he's the type of dude, like, he literally he's like, okay, this is going to be the lead, and this is going to be the harmony, and this is going to be the second harmony, and this is going to be this. And it's like, he knows exactly every part, and he sings them like twice. You know, this isn't even like I know the part, but now I got to work this out. Like, even
I hear you, man. He's one of those savants, you know, those like virtuoso dudes. Yeah.
He is literally that fucking good. All right. And
his name is Johan, so it all just fits.
Yeah, definitely. So this is all to say that he listened to My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy while on acid at a party.
Wow, that's a horrible idea.
His first experience with music, with like not classical music. That was his first experience. And he was like, oh shit, Kanye's pretty much like one of these classical composers. Yeah. Like, what he's doing is on the level of brilliance of like the Mozarts and all that shit. And so this is how he even ended up his origin story. So crazy. So he hears this and he's like, damn. So he goes out and he gets a bunch of he gets an orchestra and he composes this, what he called Beethoven, where he mashed up Kanye West and Beethoven.
Man, that's gonna be amazing.
And Mike Dean saw it and was like, damn, who's this?
Yeah.
And out to California, was like, yo, come and do strings for me on some of these projects. Yeah. And so did, you know, like Astroworld strings and everything. And that's how I met him, because Mike Dean introduced him to Vic, and Vic brought him in to do strings on his first first full length record that we did together. Yeah. And ever since then, I was like, and this is the whole story is to tell this part about my personality, was Johan and I get along so great because the first time he met me, we were doing some string stuff, and like we had some upright bass player in there doing like a part, and he kept like kind of being annoying about some shit. Like, and I'd like get on the talkback, I'd be like, yeah, for sure, man, I got you, no problem. And I get off the talkback, like, fucking string players, they're so fucking lame. They're so prissy. They act like this is hip hop, baby. Like, you know, like, and Johan was just like, I like how abusive he is to the string players. Like,
that's how you do it. That's how you do it, right? Yeah.
We've been friends ever since then, but it's only been recently like that. You know, he's been asking me to do the live stuff with him and go places with him, and it's like, I literally I wouldn't do it for many people, but I'm doing it with Johan because it's so fucking cool, you know?
Well, that's fucking rad. Thank you for sharing that with us. But let me tell you that playback is where my live tech career went to die.
Oh, really?
Oh, really? I got out of audio engineering school, like I said, 2012, 2013. I had friends who I had moved to New York with who got into management. So they were working at Crush Music Management, which was right around the corner from my institute there in New York. And they hooked me up really well. Like, they're like, hey, you've been working real hard at school. Here's some real work. So I was, man, I don't want to mention the name. You're being so cavalier with name dropping, and I don't know how anyone's cool with you being so cavalier and open with these secret stories, and I can't even mention the band name. But
I just, you know what it is? I'm at a level that I don't give a shit.
Right. Yeah, well, I'm still terrified to be shut down.
Yeah. No, it's like if someone got mad at me for like name dropping, I'd be like, well, you shouldn't have done it, bitch. Like,
yeah, well, there you go. Suffice it to say, my friends that were in music management on these high level projects threw me a bone and said, hey, let's do we need playback tracks thrown together quickly on the fly, kind of on call when we need you. I'm like, great, I'll do it. And what was cool was that it was such a high-profile gig, and they kind of shot right through the roof out of being on hiatus for a bunch of years, and they came back real strong. That being on my resume or whatever got me access to a bunch of different gigs. So one of the gigs that came my way was, hey, this band from the UK is coming for their first or second tour through the U.S., and they're hitting up South by Southwest, doing the West Coast, then landing back in New York for like Seth Meyers. Like, oh my God, yes, this is it. This is my chance. I'll do it. I'll do playback. And I had never even worked with Ableton. So why would I have accepted that? But it was one of those things where it's like, here's an opportunity. And it's like, It was presented to me. I'm like, can I step up to the plate here? Can I do this? Now, I like to think that I'm a decent engineer. I can figure some shit out on the fly. I know normal problems for live settings and stuff. This threw me into South by. I'd never even been to South by. So I go to South by. I'm blown away just by the sheer pandemonium of it, just right off the bat. We had no production rehearsal days, just thrown right in. They had their UK laptops trying to communicate with the synths that they had rented and gear on. It was a fucking nightmare, Will. Suffice it to say, this band they ran late starting their set by like 45 minutes. And then they had to cancel their second show after that because they couldn't get to it in time. And that was all my fault. And then the next day they got a bunch of press written about how their technical issues plagued their set. And I'm like, and they're all English. I'm the one American dude. Well, he worked for this big band. Why doesn't he know his shit? I'm like, oh, this is awkward as fuck. They played the MTV Woodies. Like, I was definitely in an arena I should not have fucking been in. But I had to go for it. Right. Suffice it to say, what's crazy to me is that like that experience, then I went right back to New York. They canned me halfway through, right after South by. They're like, bye-bye. You don't belong here. What's crazy is that by the end of our run in South by, I had their whole rig figured out. It was totally fine. Right. Of course. Right. So anyway, I get back to New York and I have to move back to then Western New York. So it was like, you sucked at your job there at this live venue and you can't even stay in the city anymore. You have to go back to where you came from. I truly thought I was banished from the music industry altogether. That's my origin story, everybody. And so I came back here, but then what's crazy about being in Western New York is like everything's so much more affordable. Now we have this beautiful studio. I'm with a dude who also went through an engineer path and was working in Nashville for like 10 years. He's my old guitar player from my high school band. We're playing together again. Like, I'm so much happier, and it's because I'm not chasing music for a living, really, you know? Like, I do it. I have a day job that's tangentially related, you know, and that's good enough for me. Anyway, I digress. That was a weird ramble. Sorry.
No, I talk about that kind of stuff all the time. It's like, you know, we always look at things as being like, you know, like
especially make or break moments, right? Yeah.
Yeah, especially in the music world, where you end up may not be where you thought you wanted to end up. Right. You know, it's like so many different. I mean, God, when I was 11 years old, I thought I was going to be the lead singer of a rock band.
Yeah.
The Dix Nirvana, you know, like, you know, and like every form and variation of that kind of dream has existed in my life. You know, it's like I have frontman personality, you know. Like,
no, we smell our own. It's cool.
I just don't have frontman skills. You know?
I feel that for sure. Yeah.
So it's like, you know, we go through all these experiences and we do all this stuff. And you know, like there's been many times where I was like, how did I end up here? You know, like, and it's funny when you tell that story, it reminded me, and I don't know if I've ever told this story before, but I tell it to people all the time because it's such a, I've had, the reason I don't give a shit what anybody says to me on TikTok or what anybody to me in life or anything, it's a very specific moment in my life, and it parallels your story. I once had 16,000 people boo me.
That's a lot of people to boo you. That's a lot of people booing.
It was the whole fucking festival, man. It was amazing. I was doing. It was so funny. It was and still is probably the worst day of my. And I've been shot. I've been physically shot.
Jesus Christ! Yeah. Oh my God. Your reference is much deeper than anyone else's. Yes.
And this was the worst day of my life.
God. Oh my God! It's such a heavy statement. Okay, go on. Vic Mensa, he asked me to take over his playback situation because we were doing these one-offs and it was very hard to get people to do it. Right. And I was like, yeah, for sure, man, I can do that. I was like, but your equipment's kind of in disarray right now. Right. And he's, okay, well, just tell Cody, my manager, what we need and we'll get it, you know? And I'm like, okay, cool. And so I give him a list of all this stuff, and to his credit, he got it all. The day I arrived in Chicago for 3 hours before the festival. Yeah.
And I bust my ass to get this shit together. Like, I mean, dude, they were brand new laptops.
You're installing shit. Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah, and like on like festival Wi-Fi, I'm like over there like downloading shit. I'm like, oh my God, dude. And it's this huge festival in Chicago. And I'm we're supposed to go on stage where the the co-headliner. Like it's like us and then this other band. So we're supposed to go on stage, and I actually get everything going, and we go and we sound check. Oh my god, it all works.
Miraculous, yeah.
I'm a genius. I'm a genius. I feel so. I'm like, bro, this is gonna be fine. I have 2, redundant laptops up for the playback or whatever. We get off stage for the sound check. We go back to the dressing room, grab some water. We got like 10 minutes or whatever before we're supposed to go on. I go back out. I open up the laptops. I, set my water down, and Vic comes out, and I hit play, and the first song goes great, man. I'm like, fuck yeah. I go to hit the second song, and my lack of experience kept me from knowing that because it was about 110 degrees outside, those laptops were fucking cooking.
Yeah.
They were about to die on me. And at the exact same time, about 20 seconds into his second song, everything went to shit. Both computers died at the same time. Well, one died, one physically shut down, the other just beach balled, and wouldn't. I was like, oh fuck! So I'm starting to like refire them up. They won't turn back on. They're both just dead. Vic's like, what the fuck is going on? And as he's talking to me, the crowd sees that he's talking to me, and so alone, the worst. Out the crowd yells, "Fix it, green shirt!"
They called you the fuck
like,
out.
My green shirt. I'm like, oh my god! And then all the crowd, green shirt, green shirt, green shirt, and time goes on. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, and Vic just walks off.
Yeah,
he's done.
That's the sad.
Like, I'm done. He walks off this. No chance of redeeming myself. And the crowd, realizing that Vic is no longer going to perform, starts going, "Boo, green shirt! Boo, green shirt!" People threw things at me from the crowd.
Yeah.
Like, I was just, oh my god, this is the worst thing. And I got off the stage, and I texted Vic, and I was like, man, I don't like, I'm sorry, man. Like, this will never happen again. Like, that's all I can say. And he texted me back, and he said something to the effect of like, you damn right this will never happen again, because you're never doing playback for me again. And I was like, oh my god, fuck, dude. Like I had told my girlfriend at the time before I left, I was like, yo, I don't really know if I want to do this, because like I'm his studio engineer, and if I fuck up his playback, then I might lose both jobs. It's like, this might not be a good idea. Well, and then that happened. I was like, oh, god, I didn't sleep all night. It was like late at night till we got back to the Airbnb, and I had an early flight. I didn't sleep. Got on the plane. By the time I landed back in LA, I had a message from Vic being like, "What's up? Let's get in the studio." I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm not fired from that.
No, that never fucks up. That's fine. Yeah.
And truthfully, since then, I've been his playback engineer. Like,
well, you go through that.
I'm still the one who knows.
To be perfectly honest, like, once you fucking go through that, you don't ever want to go through it again. It's not like you wanted that to happen. I didn't want to go there and fail. Like, it's like, no one wants that.
The follow-up to that, too, is that very recently we did a show together, and the stage was very small, so I kind of had to be on the stage. Like, normally I clicked off the side of the stage, but I had to be kind of on the stage, and he doesn't drink anymore, and he's like sober and everything, but I drink. So we're doing the show, and I just had a whole bottle of Patron, and I'm standing on stage drinking straight from this bottle of Patron, and Vic's like, yo, cut it, and he turns around, and I got the bottle, and I'm all to set the bottle down, so I gotta like set the bottle down before I can pause the show. And then so I stopped the show and everything, and then and afterwards he's like, "The fuck, man?" And I said, "You know what, man? Because of you, 16,000 people booed me one time."
I'm living this one up. Yeah, this is good.
So if you have to wait 3 more seconds one time because I had to put the Patron bottle down, man, like you don't know how stressful this shit is for me, motherfucker.
You're absolutely right. As well played, sir. Well played.
I'll be drinking.
What's up? Oh, I missed that.
I said I'll be drinking during the show.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I don't want to keep you too long, and thank you just for taking the time to chat with us. And before I let you go, you went to Killer Mike's 420 birthday bash recently, which again, thank you for just sharing anything on social media so I can live vicariously through you, because that's just so fucking rad. And the other one is that John Baptiste just cleaned up at the Grammys, and that was a big deal for you. You had a hand in something there. What was going on there?
Yeah, that's great. So yeah, Killer Mike's birthday party. Honestly, it's so often I develop bonds with these people, but I'm not surprised to be like not included to like.
You're not the inner sanctum, really. Yeah.
It is an incredible honor to me when people say like, "Oh, hey man, make sure you invite Greazy, or make sure you let Greazy know about this," or "Hey Greazy, you want to come to a show, or we got tickets for you if you need it."
I don't take any of that shit lately either. I'm with you. Yeah.
It's an incredible honor for me to be appreciated that much that somebody would like include me. So and Mike is such. I mean, Mike's the type of guy that like you go and introduce your girlfriend to Killer Mike, and he's like, "Oh man, yo Greazy, oh man, of course."
He just
so
talks
beautiful.
you up. Yeah, that's great.
Oh, we love this guy. He's so great. It's like he's
great.
Just like he just makes you look so great, and he's so cool about everything, and he's such a nice guy. So yeah, he is wonderful. I was super grateful to have. I got him a painting for his birthday last year because we were in the studio at the time, and I got this artist out of Ontario to like make this like real like graffiti style thing. It was super cool.
Nice.
For his birthday, but I didn't get him anything this year because I thought
we're not working on a record.
Yeah, we're not working on real. Just because, literally, because I thought he's going to be in the club, and this is the only time.
Were you working on 4?
Run the Jewels?
Or you can't say it. All right, it's cool. It's cool.
Mike's been recording some stuff.
Yeah, I know. They've been very like fucking catty about
Mike's it. Mike's been doing some stuff. It's cool. There will be something in the future that I mean, of course, there's always there's always
doing shit because they always do shit. Yeah.
I did actually work. This was I recorded Zach's verse on Just for Run the Jewels 4, and I don't ever want to piss LP off, but I always want to show people what like the version of Just that we got before it as it's because it didn't have Pharrell on it. It didn't have Mike didn't have his doubles on it for his verse. It was a completely different track when I heard it the first time from when it was finished, and so it's like I always think that stuff's so interesting because it's like normal people don't get to see or hear those things. You don't get to see like we just got, we got a 16 bar and we had to chop this part to do the things and we did this stuff or whatever, or the fact that Zach only records with a 58,
Oh, of course, because of course. Why?
Because of course.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's this super funny story where LP called him up and he's like, "Hey man, it's like, do you got a Neumann or something nice to record it to?"
No.
Zach looks at me and he goes, "Do I got a Neumann?" And I was like, "No, man, you got a 58." And he said, "8." And he was like, and LP was like, "Well, what did you record all that Rage Against the Machine stuff on?" He's like, "Yeah, this one, the 58 that I'm holding, because he's got a customized one that's got his name on it and shit, And he's like, "This one, I did it on this one," and he was like, and Zach goes, "Is that cool?" And LP goes, "Well, you just fucking convinced me it is." So.
Yo, LP seems like such a fucking crazy hang, and genius production dude.
Of all the people, he's the one that I've had the least kind. I've emailed him a bunch, but we've never, other than communicating about Zach stuff or whatever, we've never really
They're all such prolific, amazing artists. It's amazing when they act, the fact that they've come together.
An LP fan nearly as long as I've been a Killer Mike fan. I've been a Killer Mike fan since Outkast, so it's
right.
I think it was maybe 2009 or something like that. I think I first heard of LP or some shit.
No,
like
I'm with you. I'm not in the know either. It took me a while, but man, it hit me hard.
No, it's like they're great. They're really great. They're a fantastic producer. I mean, LP is literally one of the best producer rappers to ever. You know, he's like so. So what was the other question? Oh, John Batiste. Yeah, so that was actually a really cool situation, man. I do a lot of freelance work for studios around town where it's actually surprising how often people call a studio and are like, yeah, do y'all know any engineers that can do the session, you know? And I have kind of if anybody that knows me knows that I don't have anything in my calendar next week, but I will work every day next week. You know, it's like I don't have a free day. That's not how it works. Like but I don't ever get planned either. Like everybody, I'll be hit multiple times a week to do different sessions. Like I've done 3 or 4 sessions at East West this week already. You know, it's like,
it's incredible.
It's like,
that's amazing.
And not the books the week before. It's like, they a lot of last minute, hey, can we do this? And like they'll be like, yeah, and like, do you have it? And the first question they ask, because that's who they interface with. They don't talk to the producer. Producers don't know what mics they need. They don't know, you know, they don't know what, you know,
they need someone who knows their shit. Yeah.
So they're like, okay, who's your engineer? And they're like, we don't have an engineer. It's like, oh, do you need an engineer? We can get you one. Yeah, that'd be great. And they call me. So that was the situation with John. I just got a call out of the blue. And they were like, "Hey, can you work?" And I was like, "Yeah." I knew who he was, like but I didn't know he did like music outside of like being the music director for Colbert's thing. Sure. So, and I want to say I met him once before, like because we did a Colbert show thing, some point in time with somebody that I was there. I want to say I met him, but I don't really remember it happening. Sure. So anyway, so. I showed up to the studio, and the first thing we did was a song with like Tori Kelly, which I was like, oh, cool, like Tori Kelly's really rad. Like this is like that's cool. He's doing a song with Tori Kelly, and then like the next day, I can't remember if it was like consecutive or if they left and came back, but we did like 3 or 4 days maybe in 2 different studios, and it was just I just casually recorded whatever they need. He'd be like, oh, I want to do piano real quick on this piano. I'd be like, okay, yeah, for sure. So I recorded some piano. I think I did some vocals. Like, to be honest, like the funny thing about these situations is like I do like hundreds of sessions a year, like, and I don't write any of this stuff down or anything.
No, super transient. You're there to do your job and facilitate the moment. You're in the present. You know what I mean?
Yep. I just show up, I do my thing, and if it hadn't been for the fact that my assistant took a picture of me and Tori Kelly and John Batiste, like, probably would have slipped into fucking obscurity in my brain, and I would have thought about it again.
Well, that's just like, fucking rad. Again, those 2 names, even Tori Kelly, between Sing, the movies Sing and Sing 2, and then the movie Soul, which, my God, like, again, I have a 2-year-old, so we watch these things together, and Soul, in particular, I don't know if you've seen this movie, but my God, like talk about that, like tapping into that place, getting into that flow state.
And you know what, man? And real truthfully, John is one of the nicest fucking people in music.
Totally seems.
He's so incredibly happy to be here doing what he does, and like it's like there is not when you see that stuff like at like the Grammys, he's giving those speeches, like that's how he feels, that's who he is. Like he is a genuine one of the greatest people, like shirt off of his back for somebody that he knows or doesn't even, it's like he, and also a vibrant fucking soul, man. Like he is just so bright and happy, and like just I literally thinking about him smiling right now almost makes me want to cry because it's so genuine.
Yeah, honestly. That's great. No, I'm so happy to hear that. That is exactly what I wanted to hear, and I'm so happy that's it. That's the truth.
Cool when they're cool,
I know you got the other stories too. Cool.
Yeah. I like to be fair about that because it's like you never know when you're catching somebody on like the worst in their life, or like just like it's like you don't know what they've been going through. It's why I've kind of forgiven a few people that have
Everyone gets one.
Like you get one opportunity to like, okay, like I get it, but if you're like that twice, then like don't call me again, you know?
I hear that. I hear you. Listen,
and you know, and so like I mean I'm pretty fair. That's why I like the, you know, it's like the Josh Homme thing. It's like I don't think he's a mean guy or anything. Like I bet you we just really pissed him off that day.
No, that's a bizarre scenario for sure.
You know, like it happens. So you know, and I've definitely been a dick to people and like not been, and just like, you know, it's like maybe especially when it comes to engineers, man, I might be on 3 hours of sleep on my recording, like my ears are dead, everything is ringing, I hate everyone.
Well, I'm happy to catch this Friday energy with you, man. This is really good. Thank you so much for taking the time. One real quick thing just before I let you go, you another big thing that I noticed on your TikTok that really pulled me in, I think that was when I first started talking to you via TikTok, was your buddy Jake Reed doing the drum thing, the Foo Fighter drum thing, which was so fucking rad. I'm so happy you guys took that other video that explained the recording of it and like extrapolated it and like really showed it. That was incredible. What's amazing to me, that management, that De Silva management camp, they're so elusive. They're like, of all of the other industry people, those are the ones that have like the big ones, right? They have the big rock names. And for you to have any in with any of their artists, I find fascinating. And what I was curious about was kind of the vibe in the city after Taylor Hawkins passed. And what's crazy to me is that as such a big Foo Fighters fan, I was so into the Studio 666 movie. We watched it. My wife and I thought it was amazing. And then the fucking Metal album dropped. And I had 24 hours when that album dropped on Friday to really enjoy it. I'm like, this fucking Metal album is amazing. And then Saturday morning, actually it was Friday night, my text thread was blowing up. Like, what? And I'm like, is this part of the marketing? Like, what is this? That can't be. And I watched their last performance that Saturday morning just bawling. Like, talk about influential and just heartbreaking.
Yeah, man.
I didn't want to end on a bummer, but I wanted to get your take.
Yeah, man. You know, first off, I mean, all of those guys, they're kind of like cousin relationships with me. Like we work at, they did all their last 2 records at East West, and like, and I work out of East
and shit. Yeah.
Them all the time. Like they were always in and out. Literally, I got married in Studio 2 while they were making a record in Studio 1. You know, like literally, like that's how close like our worlds always were. And I would see them all the time and talk to them. Taylor, another John Batiste feel, man. It's like just a
pure
huge
joy, just radiating energy. Yeah,
just huge, vibrant soul, man. Every time you'd see him, he was like, you know, like he always did that, like this real excited, like, you know, like good to see you, like vibe, you know. And it's like, I'm sure he probably didn't even know my name or nothing, but like he always acted like he knew he saw me around all the time. He knew like that I existed.
Yeah.
Always so kind and so nice. So, you know, it's like I went and talked to manager of the studio afterwards, and we both kind of commiserated on the fact that it's like it was sad. You know, the studio, everybody around there, it was very sad. It was very hard for people. Like, but to spin that sadness and everything, like there's also like a great spirit of hope, you know, around everybody right now. That we're everybody's going to take this tragedy and find some positivity from it and build something better out of this, you know. And like honestly, I don't know how Dave could ever go on. Like I know that's like his family, you know. Like I know,
man. I don't know. And not only that, like that was the conversation that like me and my band and everyone, my musician friends, were talking about. That like, you know, do you think they're going to move on? I'm like, first of all, it's way too soon to even think about that. I'm sure they're not thinking about it. But the idea of like, first of all, what drummer would ever want to try to step in there? Unless it's, you know, Nandy Bushnell, you know, like, and that's the thing is like they were on such this positive vibe after the pandemic ruined their 25th anniversary shit. And they really did. They did nothing but put joy and happiness in the world. You know?
If there is anybody in the world who can take a tragedy like that and turn it into something that we all feel and know and love, and like it's Dave. Like he's done it before, you know. Like, and that's, you know, it's like we have such I mean, I have such tremendous respect for him because he's been through some of the hardest things to go through as a musician. And you know what? Literally, anybody who was in a band in the 90s, like, I mean, you're about the same age as me, so like growing up, I'm sure you remember it was like sometimes it felt like every month somebody died from a heroin overdose.
Yeah.
You know, it was like you didn't know like somebody who didn't lose somebody in the 90s, you know, from like some you know, in rock bands and shit specifically. It was like, it was hard to be a fan of rock bands when I was a kid because they all kept dying. You know, it was like, damn, bro.
Nirvana was the first one. You remember I said I didn't get to see Rage. I didn't get to see Nirvana. Nirvana was like one of the first bands that like hit me as a child, you know, like, and didn't get an opportunity. I hear you.
Hard for everything. So, but you know, it's like I really do hope that he finds. Man, I wish him the best. I hope he fucking finds peace in all of this because, like, God, it's a terrible, terrible fucking tragedy. And trust me, it's like, there's this thing that Jesus, why am I blanking on bro's name? There's this book called Temples of Sound, all right, and it's about studios and everything, and the opening talks about how every artist, when they go into the studio, you know, they leave energy there. You know, it's like there's this, like, it's impossible not to. You know, it's like you're literally, you know, like putting your soul out into the room, and it's impossible to not like leave energy behind. But also sometimes when you go into the studios, you get some of that energy too, and you get to feel some of that, you know. And it's like something that I don't believe in God or spirits or ghosts or like anything really. Like, I'm kind of pretty, but I think maybe that there's something to the energy thing where because when the Foo Fighters got done making their album in Studio One, the live room felt different. You know, it felt something, you know, and I like to think that everybody that from here on out plays drums in that studio gets a little bit of Taylor and a little bit of Dave in their soul, you know? And you know what? Like, damned if I like, if I haven't already heard 3 people since Taylor's death say, like, do a Taylor Hawkins thing when they're talking about like a drum thing, you know, or like.
We were lucky. We cut drums maybe a week after that. For a song that what's weird to me is that I had started this song, God, like 2017, 2016. It was like a Foo Fighters-esque song. I'm like kind of ripping off a ba-da-da-bo, kind of like riff, whatever. But we cut drums like a couple weeks later, and it was like, this is the Taylor Hawkins drum take. Like, do it.
Right.
Like what would Taylor do? You know.
Right.
Anyway.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's his legacy. That's what will live on. That's how we do that. That's how we keep the history alive in current contemporary music. That's what we do. Will, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Keep doing what you're doing. Go here are all of his socials. This is all of Will Anspach's socials. Go follow him. What do you want to leave us with?
Let me plug you or do a little plugging, a little soulless plug for some things. I got so many things coming up, and I'm super excited about them all. Obviously, you know, Johan Lennox's album is coming up very soon. I didn't even work on it. I just love his shit. Like,
right, yeah.
We recorded some vocals for him one day or something, but like, I didn't do nothing. I just love his shit. I think if you are a fan of really just high quality music that has a lot of musicianship to it, he's a great person to listen to, and I highly recommend checking him out. His album's going to be out in like the next couple weeks.
It's gorgeous. Fuck This Town just dropped today. It'll be on the playlist here, so we're including all that.
Amazing. Other thing I got going, oh god, so many things. All right, so I have a new YouTube series that I'm starting. I'm working on right now.
Excellent.
I'm trying to approach recording from you know, it's like everybody gives these videos like where they're like, all right, if you're like going to do this and you want to set your drums up and blah, blah, blah. I recorded a song in my car with like a viola player and like.
Well, you've been doing reverbs out of like your fucking toilet tank and shit.
Yeah. So I'm trying to like really make this a thing where it's like I want my brand to be like, look, I'm not these other dudes. Like
you definitely aren't. Yes, that's good.
You know, I'm not that, and this is what I do for fun. Yeah. You know, like what I think is fun. So I have this YouTube series coming out. My YouTube channel is, I think, just called Greazy Will or something like that. But I'll figure that out and plug it eventually. But that's going to be happening. I'm also doing. Speaking of Studio One at East West, where we did drums, me and Jake Reed, who I did the Foo Fighters video with, we teamed up and we did what we're calling right now a Bonham-esque style loop pack, and it's going to be literally hundreds of loops that we've done at different beat and one shots as well, and samples and everything. And we're going to be putting this up on his website in hopefully by sometime in mid-May. So keep checking back and check on that stuff, because it's going to be fantastic. We've already recorded it. I brought out an ATR 102 to do tape slap live.
Oh man, it's legit.
Like it's very legit. Jake, we filmed the whole thing, so there'll be a video of the whole thing, just with the Foo Fighters thing. But we actually paid somebody to do it this time, so it's going to be even more professional. And it's very. The mic list on it is insane. Like I used 267s, and I did a Glenn Johns method for miking, and I did I did C55s on the toms, and we did a kick drum with the FET, and and I put M50s on the rooms, and it's like, the whole thing is like, I probably used I did minimal miking because I wanted it to be Bonham-esque, but we did a modern. So anyway, the reason that I'm telling you that is because in the beginning you said about selling things. The reason I'm doing this is because I'm trying to raise money, because I have even bigger ideas, and I have in production right now something that's going to be really exciting. People are going to love this. It is essentially going to be I want to do for engineering what Gordon Ramsay did for cooking, which is like entertain people while educating them about the situation.
It's garbage. It's garbage. I have that shit.
Yeah. I have a competition style engineering show.
Cool. Yeah.
That I will be putting on YouTube very shortly. We're in early production on it right now, but it's going to happen soon. And I think people are really going to like it. It's going to be good for people who aren't into music, but also if you know about music, it's going to be fascinating, because you're going to learn about recording, but also it will definitely be funny, and it will be, a lot.
That's going to be you and Jake then? That's going to be all you?
That's all me. I haven't quite figured out. My plan is to have really cool musicians come on each week to do an episode or whatever. But there's a lot of clearance stuff that I got to get done.
I hear you. Say no more. I think that's great. I'm excited.
But so once I get all that stuff, but it's going to be really cool, and always I'm going to keep doing my TikTok stuff. I'm like I said, I'm expanding to YouTube. There'll be some more long form videos and stuff. And anybody interested, just come and find me, and I'll make you laugh at least once.
Greazy Will, everybody. Thank you so much, Greazy Will. I'm Ren Werner. This is the Instigator Hour. We will see you next time, and we're out. Yeah, that's good.
Awesome.
All right, so we're off the record now. We can talk freely.
Doesn't matter to me. I'll just
I know.